So your Amaryllis is done blooming, and now what? I have two Amaryllis plants that I'm going to demonstrate with you here. You can see this one has finished blooming, and it started to grow a bunch of beautiful leaves. Sometimes though, you won't get foliage for a while, and let me show you this other one that I have. So this one actually had two flower stalks that are done, and it's actually growing a third one here. So this one has been leaning towards the window, so you'll want to make sure to turn it around so that it straightens out. You can see this one has no leaves yet, but don't despair because they will grow leaves with time. What I like to do is after your flower stalks are completely finished, I will cut them off. Now, some people will leave them on until they shrivel up and turn brown, but I do like to cut them off as soon as the flowers are done. Plus, mine are actually starting to go to seed, and I don't want them to waste their energy by forming seed pods. Let me show you up close. Here you can see some seed pods starting to form. I actually grew Amaryllis from seed many years ago, and it's a lengthy process, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to show you how I cut off the flower stalk right at the base of the plant. I'm just going to use a very sharp paring knife like this, and I'm going to carefully cut the flower stalk right at the base, but being very careful not to harm the leaves. I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to hold the stalk with my other hand. You can see some water coming out. That's perfectly normal. Just go very slowly and don't cut into the leaves. Almost done here. There we go. And that's all done. That's all you have to do. I'm going to do the same with this other Amaryllis. So this is the flower stalk that's about to bloom. So I'm just going to cut these two off the base. There we go. And actually you can see some of the new leaves starting to grow here. Just be very careful as you're cutting. Cut this other one. Just be careful as you, there we go. And it looks like we're all set for now. Now, what you do from this point forward will affect your plant's ability to bloom the next season. So listen up. I've been growing these plants for over 20 years successfully, and they rebloom beautifully every single year. And not only that, they'll also give you offsets over time, but that'll be another video. What you'll want to do after your plant has finished blooming, you need to provide enough light for your plant. Now, indoors, I would give your plant the sunniest window that you have possible and place it immediately in front of the window. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, the best case scenario would be placing your plant in front of a southern facing window, which is very sunny, assuming that the window is unobstructed. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it'll be the opposite, so it'll be a northern facing window. The next best option would either be an eastern facing or western facing window, but whatever window that you have that has the most direct sunlight, place it immediately in front. You want your leaves to be nice and strong, and this will allow your plant to store up enough energy so that it can bloom the following season. If you don't have enough light for your plant, you'll be able to tell pretty quickly because your leaves will be floppy and pale green color, and they may even fall over, so you don't want that. So make sure that you give your plants enough light. Now, when the weather gets warm enough, and in my area, it won't be probably until May or so, sometimes even June, but usually May works for me. When temperatures outdoors are consistently above 50 degrees Fahrenheit or so minimum at night, then I'll place my plants outside. I place my Amaryllis outdoors during warm weather because it'll really give it the best chance of being able to grow well. But be careful because when you first place your plants outdoors, you'll want to place them at first, at least, in full shade for about a couple weeks. And the reason we do this is because you want to gradually acclimate your plant to sun outdoors because it's much stronger than the light indoors. Otherwise, your plant will burn. Your foliage will very quickly burn. So place it in full shade for about a couple weeks or so, just to be safe. And then after that, you can gradually add a little bit of direct sun at a time. Maybe start off with morning sun for an hour or so a day and gradually increase it over a week or two. until it's in full sun outdoors, and then your plant will be very happy. Now, fertilization is really important as well. You'll want to avoid fertilizers that are too high in nitrogen. For example, I would avoid using a fertilizer like Miracle-Gro because it contains a ton of nitrogen. And what you want to do is nourish the bulb. The fertilizers that I like to use personally, and I'll include links in the description of this video below, I like to use bulb tone. At this point in the game, just go ahead and add a heaping teaspoonful of the fertilizer. It's a dry fertilizer. You can distribute it over the surface of the soil and water it in, and it'll act as a slow release fertilizer over the next few months. Then, when I place my plants outside, I'll start watering with some fish emulsion, which is wonderful for these plants. And I'll use it even every 1 to 2 weeks or so. Mix it up with the water according to the directions on the label, and use that all summer long until it's time to put your plant into dormancy. Now, in terms of watering, I like to wait until the top inch or so of the soil has dried out and then go ahead and water. In the summertime outside, you may even need to be watering every day, especially when it's really warm. But just go by that general rule. And you're going to keep doing this all spring and all summer long. Your leaves will get nice and big. You may even start to see some offsets, some pups growing off of the base of this plant, which you can either keep it in the same pot or eventually separate it out. But that'll be another video for the future. So keep going with your watering and your fertilizing and the full sun until the autumn. And at that point, usually I wait until about October or so, and then I'll stop all watering. I'll place my plant under shelter outdoors where it wouldn't get any rain, because at that point I'll want the plant to completely dry out and the foliage will start to turn yellow and brown. Go ahead and completely cut off the dead foliage. And you're going to place your pot in a dark, cool place for storage for about a month or so. As long as it's above freezing, it's fine. I like to keep it in an area where it's around 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius or so. Even a little bit less is fine, 45 degrees, as long as it's above freezing. And keep it dry and cool and dark for about a month or so. And after that point, then you can resume watering and fertilizing, and you can even repot it at that point. Within a few weeks or so, you'll be able to see some new growth and new blooms as well. Once we get to the autumn, I'll make sure to make another video to show you exactly what I'm talking about. For reference, I've included my blog post in the description of this video so that you can refer to that anytime you want. It contains many details and many more frequently asked questions on growing Amaryllis. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing to my channel for more information.